This is the Gerry Callahan Show.
Let's go. Let's go on this Thursday morning. I can't tell you. I get excited almost every day now, waiting for the latest in this incredible effort to reform, to reclaim our country. It's been a lot of good days in the first 8 weeks of Trump 2.0. And I'm just going to put yesterday, Wednesday, March 12th, I'm going to put it in the top 5, maybe the top 3. If you weren't paying attention, yesterday we learned inflation hit its lowest rate in 3.5 years. Gas fell below $3 a gallon for the first time in years. The border crossings are down 96%. Yes, the border is closed. Mortgage rates have dropped for 6 straight weeks. DEI is dead, and massive fraud is being exposed by the great Elon Musk and his wonderful Doge team. Musk is busy saving the country. He saved free speech with X. He's going to save our astronauts who are left in space for 8 months by the petty, vile Joe Biden for political reasons. We know that now. That would be the biggest story in the country if Joe Biden were a Republican. That's all we would hear about. The utter cruelty. I want you to get a picture for me, Ironhead. Get a picture, the latest picture of the female astronaut. I don't know her name. The one with the hair. She hasn't cut her hair since she's been stranded in space. She does not look good. She's been up there 8 months. She was supposed to be up there for 8 days. And she's been up there for political reasons. Joe Biden left her there because he didn't want to give the W to Elon Musk because Elon Musk supports Trump. So this woman, it looks to me, she looks like a hostage. Her health is not good. Hopefully she'll be home soon, saved by Elon Musk. And of course, Musk has kept Ukraine in the fight by providing Starlink. Without that, that war would have ended and Ukraine would have lost. So he is, by any standard, an absolute hero. And I'm going to say it's going to get harder for the mainstream media to ignore all that Musk is doing, all that Doge team is uncovering. They're fighting hard to push back and preserve corruption, waste, fraud. That's their goal right now. Every day when you wake up, if you work at CNN or MSNBC or ABC or the Washington Post, the New York Times, you wake up and you say, how can we help these deep state cover up their crimes? How can we slander and smear Musk, who is losing billions in an effort to save the country? They hate him for it. They're firebombing Tesla dealerships and destroying their own cars. Yeah, here's the woman. I don't even know her name. The astronaut in space. 8 months she's been up there. She's gaunt. She doesn't look good. Not her fault. She's been stuck by Joe Biden.
Sunita Williams.
What is it?
Sunita Williams.
Sunita now has an eye patch. She has an eye problem. She looks like she needs some vitamins, some nutrition. And it didn't have to be this way. Musk offered in August, to go up and save her. And Joe Biden said, no, thanks. You're a Trump guy. It's just amazing. And there'd be little or no coverage. People will say, oh, good, they're coming home. Isn't that wonderful? But they won't tell you why she's been left up there. Just despicable. I'm pretty sure we can come to the conclusion at this point that Joe Biden was just an awful, rotten, horrible human being. And he still is, wherever he is. But I'm going to get to my favorite Doge moment. It was yesterday. Let me get this story because it's hard to find. In fact, I wanted to get some details. So I Googled it. And good luck. Good luck. You can't find the details of this. Doge reported yesterday that you find it on the Doge account, on the Doge Twitter account, the Doge Wedge page. This is what they reported, and you tell me if you saw it anywhere in the mainstream media. They said there are currently 394 million people receiving Social Security. 394. There are 334 million people in this country. We have many more people receiving Social Security than live in this country, than our citizens. There are only 57 million people over the age of 65. 57. And almost 400 million people receiving checks from Social Security. And what do the Democrats do when Doge reveals this? They say he's coming after Social Security. He's going to gut Social Security. Your grandmother, your mother, going to starve. They sound like clowns because they are clowns. This, again, I Googled it, and obviously Google is, a left-wing outfit. You won't find it. I mean, you see some posts on X, but nothing from the New York Times. Nothing. Here's a story from Pine Tree, whatever that is. Here's a story from The Guardian. Doge takeover of Social Security seemed based on myths. This is documented. There's massive fraud in Social Security and Medicaid. And those are the two areas where Democrats think they could score points. We're going to get him. He's coming after Social Security. Yes, he is, because that's where the fraud is. That's where the abuse, that's where people are stealing from American taxpayers. I don't know why you need more than that right there, that there are almost 400 million people getting checks from the federal government. That means, I don't know, 70, 80% of it is fraud, and it's costing billions, if not trillions. This is a godsend that we have these people, these brilliant Doge people, going in there and exposing this fraud. Now, does this mean Democrats are all getting kickbacks and their relatives are all getting rich? I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. This is Doge from yesterday. If you don't follow Doge on Twitter, on X, you really should, because every post is more mind-blowing than the last. I think we went over this yesterday, but check out the top one. 620,000 for, quote, an LGB plus inclusive teen pregnancy prevention program for transgender boys. So you, me, taxpayers are paying 600 grand to prevent pregnancies among boys. Actually, not boys, girls, pretending to be boys. That's where your money's going. And that's where Democrats want it to continue to go. It's just so revealing, so telling. It just exposes these people. They know there's massive fraud. How do we know? They know. They admitted it. Let's get to that clip from the great Mays. You should follow Mays on Twitter, too. He's brilliant. But Mays went back, dug up some clips from Democrat leaders, not just average Democrat, the leaders of the party. We have Liz Warren. We have Bernie Sanders. We have Nancy Pelosi. And they sure sound like they're 100% behind the effort of Musk and Doge and the team to expose fraud. They sure sound like they know there's a problem. That was then. This is 2010, I believe. 2010. The same people fighting tooth and nail to stop Doge admitted that they have a real problem in these entitlement programs. Watch this.
About a third of all of the spending that's done in Medicare and Medicaid, I would imagine a lot of it's in the private sector as well, doesn't go to really good health care, it goes to other things. And the real nub of this is, how do we wring that waste out, that fraud, abuse, duplication, without interfering with the good care that we want every person on Medicare, Medicaid, and private insurance to get? The average citizen knows this happens. How many times when you look at your medical bill, you've undergone a minor procedure, and you see Dr. Smith, $4,000, and you sort of vaguely remember he just waved and poked his head in the door? If we're going to eliminate the waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicare, it does mean we're going to cut some of that out. And when I hear my friend Dave Camp say, you cannot cut money out of Medicare, well, we don't want to cut the good stuff that you point out. or not, or prevent, add the prevention. But if we're going to, if 1/3, if what Senator Coburn says, that 1/3 of Medicare doesn't go to patient care, you can't just get up there and say, we don't want to cut anything out of Medicare. We want to cut the bad stuff and keep the good stuff.
There's Chucky. Can we get Liz and Bernie too? Because that is exactly what Musk is doing. And no one's fighting him harder than Chuck Schumer. I don't think you have to see or hear any more to know what frauds these people are, what liars. I mean, they're just soulless automatons. They're just sitting there saying Musk is coming after Social Security when they know that's where the fraud is. Massive fraud, billions, if not trillions. And they want to stop him for the same reason Biden insisted that Musk shouldn't save the astronauts, because they must do everything and anything they can to stop Trump, even when he's trying to find fraud in Social Security and Medicaid. Here's Nancy.
We simply must make the cuts in waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicare. We owe it to our country.
There is an enormous amount of waste and fraud and abuse in this government. When there is waste and fraud, you have an administration who should also be on top of that situation.
If we're going to eliminate the waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicare, it does mean we're going to cut some of that out. We want to cut the bad stuff and keep the good stuff.
Wow, that's
Can you stop? Is that asking too much? Just cut the rest of that, please. That is amazing. Those three, Nancy, Bernie, Chucky, are fighting harder than anyone to maintain, to preserve the waste, fraud, and abuse. I don't think we've ever seen a better example of utter, abject corruption in the federal government when the leaders, the figureheads of one party are saying 10, 15 years ago that this is a big problem. And today they're saying we can't solve the problem. We can't, because the opposition party might look good. People might understand, realize what he's doing, what Musk is doing is long overdue. Unless you're a complete moron or you're just, sticking your head in the sand, you have to admit, everybody, every Democrat, Republican, Independent, you must admit, this is what we need. This is what I've been waiting my whole life for, this, to someone to actually go in there, dig in, find the abuse, find the fraud, and eliminate it. And he's doing it. And we should thank him. And what are we doing instead? We're firebombing Tesla dealerships and vandalizing Teslas and trying to tank and cyber attacking X and trying to ruin the man who is doing God's work. It's simply mind-boggling, mind-blowing that we got to this point. Before we move on, here's your state of the Democrat Party. They have now embraced fraud, waste, and corruption. That's what they do. Because Trump's against it, they have to be for it. So they are fighting to preserve waste, fraud, and abuse. And you got a great example of it yesterday. This is from the Washington Times. I had to read this twice. The House approved legislation Tuesday to double the statute of limitations for pandemic unemployment fraud to 10 years, brushing aside Democrats' attempt to turn the bill into a referendum on Musk and Trump. Republicans said as much as $400 billion was stolen from unemployment funds and just $5 billion has been recovered. So almost $400 billion gone through fraud during the pandemic. So they asked for an extension to track down all the fraudsters, all the criminals. This is from Jason Smith, Missouri Republican. Criminals are going to get away scot-free unless we pass this legislation. The statute of limitations would expire later this month. Without this legislation, without this extension, 127 Democrats voted against it. voted against extending the statute of limitations so they can track down all these criminals. 83 Democrats voted with the Republicans. So it passed and we can get them. And Republicans just gave a couple of examples of people that they've caught that have gotten away. And I'm reading through this and I'm saying, why would you be against this? What? A Washington Times review found nearly 1,000 pandemic fraud defendants were overpaid by state errors and, of course, kept the money. They spent $675 billion on emergency pandemic unemployment claims. 100 to 135 billion was fraudulent. A massive chunk went to foreign fraudsters from China, Russia, Romania, and Nigeria. And Democrats don't want to extend this. I'm still looking for the argument. Your argument against this, your argument to continue or to keep the statute of limitation in place so people can keep on stealing. Why would you be against this? It's like they had a bill the other day to close the terror tunnels or the drug cartel tunnels in Mexico. And it was almost unanimous, but Rashida Tlaib voted against it. She voted against closing tunnels that drug dealers and coyotes and smugglers used to smuggle illegal aliens and drugs into the country. She voted against it. Those your Democrat Party. Republicans said that if they don't pass this bill, it would let off the hook fraudsters such as Rashad Hill, a Rhode Island man who collected $31,000 in bogus unemployment benefits and boasted to his friends that he spent it on weed and guns. He was hit with a 2-year prison sentence. That's one guy. That's $31,000. There's $400 billion in fraud, and Democrats want to shut it down. They have lost their way. And I know I say this all the time, or at least lately. They have no leadership. They have no future, at least not right now. Nobody to lead them out of this darkness. We know how thin their bench is. I feel the exact opposite about Trump, about Republicans. I knew he would do better this time. Trump 2.0 would do better at hiring, surrounding himself with the right people. But I have to say, he's exceeded my expectations. His cabinet, his people, his team has just been spectacular these first 8 weeks. We got some examples. And I'm going to tell you why. They're all great spokesmen. They're all on the same page, and they're all smart, and they're all articulate. And that wasn't the case last time around. I'll be honest. He did a lousy job of putting together a cabinet in 2017, a lousy job. He learned from that, learned from his mistakes, and he put the best people around him. And we have some great examples. They are pushing back. They're not just hiding out. It's not like Biden. They're not hiding. Hell, we don't even know half the people were in Biden's cabinet. He never had any cabinet meetings. But we know Trump's guys because they're out front row center and they're pushing back at the fake news. And it's great. We have some great stuff from Marco Rubio, Lee Zeldin. I feel like I'm cheating on Tom Homan because I'm starting to love Lee Zeldin. He is doing as much as anyone to eliminate the fraud. And what he's doing is pointing out what a scam all the climate change bills and all the climate change legislation, what scams, what theft they were. And he's ending it now, and it's great. We'll get to that and more, but first.
Excuse me.
Going online without ExpressVPN is like leaving your laptop unattended at the coffee shop while you run to the bathroom. Most of the time, you're probably fine. But what if one day you come out of the bathroom and your laptop is gone? Every time you connect to an unencrypted network in cafes, hotels, airports, whatever, your online data is not secure. Any hacker on the same network can gain access to and steal your personal data, passwords, bank logins, credit cards, all of it. ExpressVPN stops hackers from stealing your data by creating a secure encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet. Plus, ExpressVPN works on all devices, phones, laptops, tablets, and more, so you can stay secure when you're on the go. It also comes with Identity Defender, a new suite of tools to get your data removed from data brokers, alert you when your data appears on the dark web, and even insure you against data theft for up to $1 million. For me, having online identity protection like ExpressVPN is a no-brainer. I've had my share of problems with online theft before, and it's just not worth the risk. Secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/Gerry. That's expressvpn.com/Gerry to find out how you can get 4 extra months free. Go to expressvpn.com/Gerry. I know there's like asking a Patriots fan, what's your favorite Super Bowl winning team? And, or like asking someone who their favorite child is. I'm having trouble. Who's my favorite Trump cabinet member or my favorite Trump spokesman? They've all been great, except Pam Bondi. She doesn't make the list. Sorry, not Pam Bondi. But I watch every day. I mean, I'm enjoying more than anything. I'm enjoying lots of things Trump's doing, of course, but watching his guys and girls push back on the fake news, on the frauds who are doing everything they can to stop his efforts to reclaim the federal government, to clean it up. J.D. Vance, been great. Pete Hegseth, smart, articulate. Marco Rubio, just been great. Doug Collins, Brooke Rollins, she's been good too, man. Lee Zeldin, I mentioned, Mike Walls, and of course, Kash Patel. These guys are just smart, articulate, young in most cases, full of energy. I'm sure they're like Trump. I'm sure they don't sleep, and they're just not going to take it anymore from Democrats, from the media. Now, we have a few examples because yesterday was a big day for Team Trump, big day. But I want to start with Tom Homan. We don't have a lot of, Tom Homan talking, but this is a great moment. Homan goes to Albany because New York State is not cooperating. He pointed out that they won't share DMV data, motor vehicle registration data, with ICE, with the Border Patrol. So if they pull over an illegal alien, they can't run his plate. So they're fighting hard in New York, just like Massachusetts and California, fighting hard against removing illegal alien criminals, hardened criminals, murderers, rapists. They're doubling down on their efforts to stop Homan from getting the worst of the worst. We're still on the worst of the worst phase 1, and Democrats are fighting, screaming, kicking, literally trying to fight Homan, which sort of. Let's get to this clown. A New York City assemblyman and a New York City mayoral candidate. He wants to be the next mayor of New York. Is really, really upset at Homan. He made the drive up to Albany just to yell at Homan, who's doing what again? What is he doing right now? He's getting gangbangers, drug dealers, rapists off the street. And Democrats can't handle it. These are their people, their base, and they can't handle it. Watch this absolute clown pretend that he was ready to fight. Just drop the gloves with Tom Homan. Go ahead.
Do you believe in the First Amendment?
What does that have to do with it? Do you believe in? If you can't see, his name is Zoran Mamdani. And then he tweeted, I confronted Tom Homan. Why? Man, that could be the best example of just how far off the rails the Democrats have gone. Homan, to his credit, walked past this clown who knew there's a whole row of troopers, of New York troopers in between the two. So he knew that he wasn't actually going to confront Homan. So he put on a show and posted it and said, look at me, I'm a badass. Homan's response? He ate an apple. He ate an apple. Do we have Homan walking by. God, that's in the state capitol. And I mean, why are they upset? I understand it. You have to really take a close look at what is setting off Democrats. It is truly breathtaking. What has them so upset right now? We just went over it. Doge, Musk, Trump, eliminating fraud, waste, abuse, COVID pandemic fraud, Social Security fraud, Medicare fraud. We're finally getting rid of it. And they're pissed. What else? Oh, we're removing illegal alien criminals. That's really got them pissed. And then we have the story of Mahmoud Khalil, this terrorist sympathizing scumbag, Columbia grad, who was not a student, who graduated from Columbia and still lived in their housing and spent his days harassing, intimidating Jewish kids who just wanted to go to class, who spent his days supporting Hamas, a murderous terrorist organization that still is holding Americans hostage, who murdered 1,200 people on October 7th. He supports them. And he thinks he has a right to live here as a green card holder, as a visa holder. Well, he doesn't. And Democrats are circling the wagons around this absolute piece of garbage. That's a fight they want. They're taking to the streets. They don't want Mahmoud removed from this country. And my answer, I know there's a lot of issues in here. Actually, there's not a lot of issues. This is one. Do you support terrorism? That's enough to have you removed from the country. Supporting terrorism. You're here. You don't have a right to be here. It is a privilege granted to you by this country. And I think all decent Americans today are going, why do we want him here? Why did we let him in here? When you see these protests, by the way, the big protests they had in New York in support of him, there were no American flags. There were Palestinian flags, Hamas flags, kefifas, Hamas headbands, no American flags. Every one of his supporters hates this country. He vowed to eradicate Western civilization. He chanted death to America. Again, why would you want him here, Democrats? Why? Why do you want people who hate the country in the country? Well, Marco Rubio explained brilliantly yesterday. He was asked about this. By the way, it's up to him. It's up to the Secretary of State if Mahmoud is allowed to stay. And I just have to give the bad news to Mahmoud. I don't like his chances. Here is Marco Rubio explaining why this piece of filth has to go.
President Trump appealed to a lot of Americans during his campaign on free speech arguments and not suppressing speech, especially from the government. But your revocation of the green card, to many, is seen as one of the most anti-speech actions a secretary could take with his powers. How do you respond?
Yeah, I mean, when you enter this is an important point, and I'm glad you asked this question. When you come to the United States as a visitor, which is what a visa is, which is how this individual entered this country as on a visitor's visa, okay, you are here as a visitor. We can deny you that visa. We can deny you that if you tell us when you apply, hi, I'm trying to get into the United States on a student visa. I am a big supporter of Hamas, a murderous, barbaric group that kidnaps children, that rapes teenage girls, that takes hostages, that allows them to die in captivity, that returns more bodies than live hostages. If you tell us that you are in favor of a group like this, and if you tell us when you apply for your visa, and by the way, I intend to come to your country as a student and rile up all kinds of anti-Jewish student, anti-Semitic activities. I intend to shut down your universities. If you told us all these things when you applied for a visa, we would deny your visa. I hope we would. If you actually end up doing that, once you're in this country on such a visa, we will revoke it. And if you end up having a green card, not citizenship, but a green card as a result of that visa while you're here in those activities, we're going to kick you out. It's as simple as that. This is not about free speech. This is about people that don't have a right to be in the United States to begin with.
That's so good. It's not about free speech. It's about your right to be here, and you don't have one. We have no obligation to accommodate Hamas supporters, which is what he was. Forget the fact that he committed many, many crimes, vandalism, breaking and entering into the buildings, that he blocked Jewish kids from going across campus. That's enough for me. But he's outwardly, openly supporting terrorists who murder Americans, who are holding Americans hostage. I'll say it again. You want to go with that, Democrats? You go. You support this guy. You fight. Get out in the streets and fight for this guy. Here's what else you can fight for. Massive, massive fraud in the Green New Deal scam. Lee Zeldin is doing a spectacular job. He's the EPA administrator, and he is fighting to eliminate the fraud. And he's saying what I've been waiting for somebody to say. All these climate things, initiatives, they're all scams. They're not changing the climate. They're not fighting global warming. They're stealing from us. And he's uncovering it every day. And he's not the most dynamic speaker, but he sounds committed to this mission. And I love this. This is what we need. We need to all agree at this point, finally, that all this Green New Deal stuff is just a scam. It's got nothing to do with the weather. It's all a way for Democrats to move money to other Democrats, to well-connected Democrats, to friends. That's what it is. We learned it with Stacey Abrams. $2 billion we gave Stacey Abrams to help poor communities, upgrade their appliances. $2 billion? How much of it went to appliances? I'm going to guess very little. Just a scam. And he's pointing it out and he's articulating it, and it's great. Go ahead. Play the
of the Green New scam is upon us. And there are people who are congressional Democrats who are not going to be happy with our actions. I am here to fight for, as part of that Trump mandate, earn November 5th, the people across this country who have seen a Green New Deal that, if fully implemented, would cost tens of trillions of dollars, and people who cannot afford to be able to heat their home, to purchase a car, small businesses that are struggling to operate. People have been put out of work, and it's going to end.
That's it. That's your job right there. Think of that. People can't afford, that's most people who have trouble affording things they want, vacation or another home or car. And Stacey Abrams is getting $2 billion, and she's just part of it. He said they're uncovering hundreds of billions of dollars in fraud, all based on the Green New Deal lie that if we give them money, they'll change the weather. Well, that's been exposed, along with everything else, which is great. Do we have time for the CNN clown? Because I want to play this guy. CNN has a full-time guy on the climate change beat, and his name is Bill Ware, if you've ever seen him. Anytime there's like a storm or a fire, some natural disaster, they send him out there to walk around the scene and say, oh, more extreme weather. Weather's getting so much worse. It's all because we're driving SUVs and we're not net zero. It's all a sham, but he's too stupid to understand that he's being used. He's part of this whole scheme. And his job now is to stop Lee Zeldin from uncovering all this fraud. That's his full-time job at CNN. And he thinks he's got it. He thinks he's got Lee Zeldin. He thinks he's got him because Zeldin is pointing out all these fraudulent programs, and he thinks Zeldin is moving too fast and making mistakes. And you have to see this whole thing in context, because he's pointing out press releases and posts by Zeldin, and he thinks they're wrong, they're mistakes. They're not. He is. He's just dumb. Play it.
Today, Lee Zeldin put out a video on X, and they were putting out press releases with such a flurry, about 31 different actions and rollbacks, that some of them had typos, placeholders at the top. We have one of those there. Trump EPA announces 000. You can see there. It's sort of shoot first, fill out the press release later.
That press release was 100% accurate. As Zeldin points out, those aren't zeros. Those are O's, and that's the actual title of this program. And this idiot thinks Zeldin was mistaken because he was rushing. He's rushing. He's hurrying to cut these schemes and these scams. You watch. There'll be a storm soon, a hurricane, tornado, and this clown will be on the scene, and he'll be blaming Lee Zeldin. That's what he's going to do. Once again, that's the fight they pick. They want to take the side of massive fraud in this climate change scheme. They want to take the side of a Hamas sympathizer. They want to take the side of Social Security fraud. They are picking sides, and every single one of them is a loser, is a big L, and it's great to see. All right, speaking of big L's, quick break. Then I want to get to Michelle Obama's podcast. Yes, it's dropped. I think there's 2 or 3 episodes. It's not going well for Big Mike.
Excuse me.
Going online without ExpressVPN is like leaving your kids with the nearest stranger while you go to the restroom. They're probably not a kidnapper or a serial killer, but why would you ever take that chance? Every time you connect to an unencrypted network in cafes, hotels, airports, whatever, your online data is not secure. Any hacker on the same network can gain access to and steal your personal data, passwords, bank logins, credit cards, all of it. ExpressVPN stops hackers from stealing your data by creating a secure encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet. Plus, ExpressVPN works on all devices, phones, laptops, tablets, and more, so you can stay secure when you're on the go. It also comes with Identity Defender, a new suite of tools to get your data removed from data brokers, alert you when your data appears on the dark web, and even insure you against data theft for up to $1 million. For me, having online identity protection like ExpressVPN is a no-brainer. I've had my share of problems with online theft before, and it's just not worth the risk. Secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/Gerry. That's expressvpn.com/Gerry to find out how you can get 4 extra months free. Go to expressvpn.com/Gerry. We knew Michelle Obama's new podcast with her brother, not with her husband, with her brother. We knew it would be bad, but holy crap. I love this so much because podcasts are kind of, I used to say this about talk radio, when people would go into talk radio, get a talk show because of being a celebrity in politics or in Hollywood or whatever, sports. They think they could just show up, just show up and say, it's me, I'm famous. People will listen. She obviously put no thought, no effort into this. She just thought she could show up and talk to her brother for an hour, and somehow enough Americans or enough people would find it compelling. Well, it ain't working out the way Michelle had hoped. It's called IMO. What a dumb name. What a bad name. And she just sits at like the kitchen table with her coffee cup and her brother and giggles about, tells stories. And it has flopped miserably so far. Sort of like her husband, who did a podcast with Bruce Springsteen. And I think it lasted for like 3 weeks. Nobody listened because you don't tune in. People don't tune in to Joe Rogan because he's Joe Rogan. They tune in because of what he has to say and his guests have to say. Same with anybody, Dan John Bongino or Ben Shapiro. They tune in to hear what they have to say, not because of who they are. And they don't seem to understand that. Here, let's play a clip from, in case you missed it. I mean, most people did. And then we'll tell you how things are going, how the numbers are for the IMO podcast with the former First Lady and her brother. Good.
See somebody of note with a platform who, by every measure looks successful. The first question is how? I think this podcast, first and foremost, gives us an opportunity to hear from folks. We're going to be taking, questions from listeners who are going through some things and just need a little advice. They want to hear from people in conversations, and folks are looking for a place where they can just, they can hear stories, you know? I mean,
that sounds so awful. I mean, I don't know if there's probably is out there. If you Google it, the worst podcast of all time, that has to be on the list. That has to be.
If it's not, it absolutely will be.
She's not saying like why she didn't go to the inauguration or why she didn't go to Jimmy Carter's funeral or where Barack Obama is. She's saying we're going to have conversations and we're going to talk to some listeners and talk about life and their problems. Who is listening? Who wants to hear that? Well, I guess we have our answer. Nobody. Nobody. Did you get the numbers for me, Ironhead?
Yeah, this is just one of them. And after
that would be the big one. Your first one, I think, that would be the one.
After 10 hours, there was only 8,500 views.
8,500 views on YouTube for first episode. The first lady, the one that the woman everybody in the Democrat Party wants to run for president because she's just so charismatic. 8,000 views. I'm just looking quickly.
Well, this was like projected to be huge. Like almost 500,000 would have been bad.
I was going to say, how's that even possible? Even if can't you come up with some fake numbers? I'm looking for our numbers. Here's Monday. We had 36,000 on Rumble. What do we have on Twitter right now, Iron? Let me find it. You know, we get more than that on Twitter every day.
Yeah.
8,000 just from, people curious to how bad it was going to be. You think she could get more than that? I mean, we get more than that on Twitter and on Rumble every day, and we get zero publicity promotion. She got millions of dollars in fake promotion from her friends in the media, and she has whatever it is, Spotify. Who's paying for this?
I believe it is Spotify, but for some reason it is out on YouTube.
I guess she has more than one producer, which I'm just going to guess. She's got the best technology, but she has nothing to say. She's just sitting there going,
wait till you hear the end. I haven't heard the end yet, but I guarantee it's 5 minutes of credits explaining what everyone does that works on the show.
That's always a good idea. Let's just tell everyone, who's behind the scenes and how they're working so hard. But it'll be a disaster. It'll last. I don't know how long Springsteen's and Barack's podcast lasts, but it'll be about that. Give it a month. And just will say, I want to go do other things.
There was an episode released yesterday. So in 24 hours, it has 16,000 views.
That's incredible. I mean, I would think more people would tune in just to say, how bad is it? Could it really be that bad?
Right.
But good luck to her. Not as easy as it sounded, is it, Michelle? No. And by the way, if she's not going to talk about Barack and their marriage and why she didn't go to, the inauguration, then she's not being open. She's not being, honest. She's just
shows her support for presidency was also probably manufactured significantly.
That's why she will never run for president, because it's really hard. And she knows that. It's really time consuming. It's exhausting. She's got a perfect life, except for the marriage. But she's got hundreds of millions of dollars in homes, oceanfront homes and planes and Gulf Streams. Not going to give that up.
Do you think Friends was one of her favorite shows?
No, because there's no diversity.
I was talking about Barack being with Jennifer Aniston. Now she's just extra mad.
That's coming. I'm predicting any day now we're going to get that picture of him hiding. He's going to hide his face as he comes out the back door of some restaurant in LA or San Francisco with Jennifer Aniston or somebody. And then we're going to have that whole story, Love on the Rocks. And then she'll do a podcast and she'll talk about, what it's like to raise daughters in the White House, the challenges she faced. It was so hard. God, she is just the worst. But America has spoken. They don't want to hear from you. They don't care what you have to say. Sorry, Michelle. All right, we got to leave it there for today. This, whatever it is. Thursday, March 13th, day 56, 57. It's getting better every day. I'm enjoying every damn day. Can't wait for tomorrow. It'll be more. There'll be more wonderful things to talk about, to report, to just enjoy. But we'll leave it there. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is the Callahan Show, and we will do it again tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my God. Is she crazy?
Thank you. Thank you
Wow.
all. Thank you so very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Oh, too many. Thank you.